Hey guys, Dragon Ball Daima episode 19 titled Betrayal has aired. We're going to do our normal review here. This was another crazy episode. It's hard to really compare this episode to last episode. It was just different. A lot of action. There was actually probably more action in this one than the last episode, which is hard to do. I mean, they were both essentially from the beginning to end just crammed with action. But I will say, from an animation and art standpoint, this easily was the best looking episode. Honestly, it looked better than like every Dragon Ball media we've ever seen. It's really hard to look better than how good this episode looked. And I already think Daima looked very good, but this was on a different level entirely. Like, we'll get into what happened. There was a lot of action, and I think they did things in a specific way for a very specific reason. So this was episode 19, Betrayal. This is the second to last episode. Next week is going to be the final episode of Daima. So obviously the episode starts where the last one left off, where Glorio makes his wish with Purunga, obviously the eternal dragon of the demon realm. And then once this wish is made, Arinsu kind of like looks up and is expecting to become the new king of the demon realm, that's what she wants. Essentially her entire mission with Glorio that she sent Glorio on was to achieve that. So Glorio makes his wish, and all of a sudden, Goku starts to glow yellow, and so does Piccolo, so does Vegeta, so does Bulma, so does everybody else. They all start growing, and they all revert back to their original ages and sizes. Glorio has betrayed Arinsu. Shenron says his usual goodbye, and the Dragon Balls dissipate, and everyone is back to normal. So we have adult Goku, adult Vegeta, everybody's back to their original sizes. We have Ponzi, who's holding Dende as a baby, and Dende like grows bigger, and she's like, okay, what's going on here? So yeah, everybody is back to their original sizes. And for me, the best part about this for me is that we get the original voice actors back for the characters. I didn't dislike the child voice actors for all the characters, but it's just, you can never really replace the original voice actors. So I was really happy to see Horikawa back as Vegeta. Obviously, Nozawa still was playing Goku, but the voice is very clearly different between the child version and the adult version. So all the original voice actors are back for the characters, which really, that's what really brought it back to me. So Goma appears again, and Goku stares him down. He tells Vegeta that since they're adults now, to let him take Goma down himself, but Vegeta says it's his turn, and Goku agrees. So we're going back to like the one-on-one thing. But let's take a look at some of these images here. So here's Goku glowing, and he's going back to his normal size. Same thing with Vegeta, same thing with Piccolo. And here is Goku kind of staring down Goma here. Here's Vegeta with his arms crossed. I mean, the art looks really good. I would say the second half of the episode looked even a tad above what we saw in the first half of this episode, because that's where all like the action was. But here's a good shot of Goku. I mean, you can just tell it looks really good here. Here's Vegeta. Here's Vegeta talking. So yeah, Vegeta actually does start fighting with Goma. So Vegeta attacks Goma in base form. Remember, these guys were fighting. Remember, this is giant Goma. Goma is still giant from the last episode. These guys were fighting Goma, right? Not giant Goma, like the third eye buff Goma, as like Super Saiyan 3 and Super Saiyan 4. Goku was Super Saiyan 4. And, you know, Goma was on par, if not a level above them. So we have base form Vegeta actually managing to land a few blows on Goma, but then Goma starts to immediately retaliate back. So here we have, look how small, like this is adult Vegeta now. We have adult Vegeta taking the fight to Goma. This is how small Vegeta is compared to Goma. But I mean, there are a few punches that, like the first punch that Vegeta even throws at Goma, I believe he just lands it straight on his forehead, and he actually takes damage from it. So base form Vegeta is really actually putting the fight to Goma and actually doing damage. So in between all this fighting, Arinsu confronts Glorio and asks him if he forgot about what she did for him in the past. She then tells him that he's fired and to get lost. And there's kind of like this little emotional scene where Glorio actually like bows to Arinsu and he's like, thank you for everything you've done. And then he starts flying away. So there seems to be some very like cordial relationship between them. It's probably, you know, a lot of people are looking at this probably and thinking, okay, maybe Arinsu actually was a good, you know, a good person, and she helped Glorio, and Glorio was simply working with her because he was repaying a debt that he had to her. So like during this fight between Vegeta and Goma, let me see, is there, okay, this is the scene between Glorio and Arinsu. So Glorio's kind of like, you know, talking, Arinsu's like, you're fired, go, you know, get out of my sight. So Glorio flies away, and we'll get back to this later. So Vegeta, in the middle of fighting Goma as base form, says he's feeling completely back to normal and goes for a point-blank blast attack on Goma's chest. Goma takes damage from this. Goma tries to crush Vegeta between his hands. Kind of like, I don't know if they meant to do this, but it's almost reminds me of like a throwback to Grade 8 Vegeta from the Saiyan Saga versus Goku, where he has Goku like this. It's similar. He goes to crush Vegeta with his hands, but Vegeta's pushing his hands back. And he actually does go Super Saiyan to do that, and he pushes Goma away. And then he starts kind of like following up on pushing Goma back and starts rushing at him through the air as a Super Saiyan. And while he's flying through the air, he actually goes Super Saiyan 3, like while he's flying in the air. So Vegeta is now adult Super Saiyan 3. So this is why I think they did it this way. I think they wanted to sort of set this episode as a way to get adult versions of like all these forms in here, because obviously this is supposed to be to sell, you know, merchandise and get these characters in video games. That's why they did this, right? We have the Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan 3, Super Saiyan 4 versions of the kid Vegeta and kid Goku. And then now we have sort of the same thing with them as adults, which is, this was very obvious to me. I think I talked with, I don't know if I've talked about this in a preview, or in an episode review video, but I've certainly mentioned this somewhere on social media. This is something that was very obvious to me. So while rushing through the air to Goma, Vegeta goes Super Saiyan 3 and crosses his arms as he looks down on Goma from above. Yeah, so he's like kind of doing the same thing that he did when he was a kid in his kid form. And Super Saiyan 3, remember when Vegeta was Super Saiyan 3 fighting Tamagami number 2? He was kind of fighting with his arms crossed like this. He was like kicking him around. That's similar to what he does against Goma here. So Vegeta as adult Super Saiyan 3 is really just completely almost dominating Goma here. Vegeta immediately goes in for the gut punch, which stuns Goma, and looks like Vegeta has the overwhelming advantage as he starts ragdolling Goma around the arena. He finishes his combo with a kick that sends Goma flying to the ground, all with his arms crossed. However, the third eye shines and essentially revitalizes Goma, and he says it's not over yet. So let's see if we can get some good images here. Yeah, so here's Vegeta transforming into Super Saiyan 3. It does maintain the same stylistic difference that Vegeta has to Goku Super Saiyan 3 form. Obviously the hair is different. Instead of the hair flowing downward, it's like sort of spiked up and flowing directly back, almost like an elongated Beast Gohan look is what this kind of reminds me of a little bit. But obviously there's no eyebrows, so it is for sure Super Saiyan 3. But this transformation scene looks pretty good. Then we have Vegeta doing the kick I was just talking about. Yeah, Vegeta really was just completely owning Goma here as Super Saiyan 3. So, I mean, we have some good shots here. Again, arms completely crossed. Kind of reminds me of portions of the Super Vegito versus Buhan fight where Vegito's just having his arms crossed the whole time. Here's the kick that Vegeta does to Goma, which got the cartoonish, you know, eye-popping thing here. And then, you know, Goma just goes flying downwards. And then we sort of have Goma get revitalized by the third eye. So this is really following what we saw last week in episode 18, where Goma gets caught by something and he gets stunned and he gets damaged by something, but the third eye is really compensating for faults in the user's fighting style. And again, I'll make the same parallel here. It really does remind me of Metal Cooler. When Metal Cooler takes damage, the AI or whatever the technology in the Big Yeti Star allowed Metal Cooler to essentially regenerate himself, and then he became stronger because it compensated for the weakness in Metal Cooler's body. And every time he takes damage, it makes him stronger so that the same mistake can't be repeated. That's really what this third eye is doing, it looks like to me. So the third eye is just continuously making Goma stronger and seemingly giving him almost unlimited amounts of energy and ways to adapt to the beatdowns that Vegeta keeps giving to him. So that's where we're at there. Let's see. Glorio appears before the crew. So before the crew meaning before like Goku and Ponzi and stuff. And he's greeted by Ponzi. Ponzi's very excited, saying that he's the best. Supreme Kai thanks Glorio for making the wish, and Neva gives him a wink. So Neva is apparently like the god of giving every character a wink. And then Goku, I like this scene a lot. Goku gives him a thumbs up and says his name correctly for the first time. He actually does say his name. Remember, up until now, he's like, you know, Gordido, like he's never gotten his name right once. And even in this episode, in the beginning part of this episode, he does say Glorio as an adult, and he says it wrong. And then Glorio's like, you know, it's Glorio. But when Glorio comes to, sort of like to greet them or whatever, Goku gives him the thumbs up, and then, you know, says like he's like, nice job, Glorio, and he has his name right. And then Glorio actually makes a comment about it. He's like, that's the first time you said my name correctly. So I did like that scene a lot, because it does symbolize that the story of Daima is, you know, coming to a conclusion. All right, so Vegeta starts rapidly firing ki blasts into Goma, and they do damage. So this is like the quote unquote Vegeta technique, where he just, you know, rapidly fires a bunch of ki blasts. And they do damage. He then follows up with combos and goes for a final flash to end off with. So Vegeta does, you know, sort of like send Goma flying. I think he actually sends him through the arena. Remember, this arena is like floating in the air. He sends him like through the ground of the arena, and then goes behind him and just starts charging up a final flash. You know, he does like the arms going out. Like you could tell he's charging it up and getting ready for it. But the third eye allows Goma, like, again, you'll see the third eye shine, and then it sort of like imbues Goma with energy. So it's really not Goma doing all of this. It's literally just the third eye is carrying him. Like, that's the third eye is doing all the heavy lifting here. The third eye allows Goma to fire a mouth blast, which clashes with the final flash, but Vegeta's able to win the beam clash and send Goma flying into the sky above. And there's like this flash. Soon the clouds start to twist and turn, and it really does look like almost like a Zamasu-y thing. So the clouds start to twist and turn, and a flash shines down from above. Goma is completely unscathed, and Vegeta seems a bit worn out. All of a sudden, Goma appears behind Vegeta and wails on him for a bit before the camera does a close-in to Vegeta, and that's the end of the first half of the episode. It cuts to commercial. So, yeah, here's the scene with Glorio. We have Neva giving him a wink. We have Goku giving him the thumbs up. Here's Neva winking. Goku giving him the thumbs up. So, yeah, I'd like the scene a lot, because it almost brought a conclusion to the relationship that Goku has with Glorio, at least from the Daima series here. And then here's Vegeta powering up the final flash. I mean, this is the beam clash here. Here's Vegeta actually powering it up. Here's the actual clash. I mean, by looking at this, you would think Goma would win this. I mean, this thing is huge. Here's him powering it up, and then here is the actual like conclusion of it, and he sends Goma flying again. So he basically, like, the best way to describe, like, this is the bottom. He's looking up, like directly up. This is the bottom of the arena. So he basically kicks or like punches Goma through the bottom, but like the bottom is still intact. But then the final flash just like completely rips a hole through the arena, and he sends him flying up into the air. So yeah, Goma, yeah, the third eye just again compensates for the issues that Goma is enduring here from the fight with Vegeta, and Vegeta starts to become a little bit overwhelmed here. So here's like, you know, the classic anime bead of sweat. Here's Goma punching Vegeta, and here's Vegeta sort of like, you know, on the ropes a little bit. This is right where the commercial happened. And here's Goma appearing behind him. So this scene right here is right after Vegeta finished firing off the final flash. And Goma, even at this size, is able to kind of like quickly get behind Vegeta before he even notices. So that is, yeah, that's where we're at here with Vegeta Super Saiyan 3 versus Goma. Goku, so after the commercial, Goku says this doesn't look good since Super Saiyan 3 is approaching its limits. Piccolo says it appears that Goma is able to recover from all damage with the third eye. So they're starting to catch on to this. Of course, Piccolo, I really like that they did this for Piccolo, because this has always sort of been Piccolo's role, especially in the Buu saga. Piccolo's always been the one to point out like technical details or like stylistic flaws in fighting that the different characters have. So now we actually cut to Arinsu. Arinsu also says that Abura, remember Abura was Deborah's father who had used the third eye in the past. Arinsu says that Abura was able to use the third eye and remove it at will. So there's got to be a way to like get it off of Goma. And then she actually tells Majin Ku to go to her library and fetch her like a specific, like a book or a tome. So Vegeta continues pummeling Goma, and like he's actually doing damage to Goma, but like what's happening is Vegeta is like punching Goma and Goma's taking damage, but then the third eye just completely regenerates all of his damage. And so Vegeta just essentially wearing himself out. It's kind of like the rope-a-dope for those of you who are familiar with boxing, like Ali versus Foreman, the Rumble in the Jungle. Like Goma would kind of just eat the hits, and then the third eye would heal him, and then he kind of just, again, Vegeta just ends up tiring himself out without really making any progress in the fight. Vegeta continues pummeling Goma, but is completely exhausted. Goma grabs Vegeta and sends him flying back with a punch. Vegeta reverts back to base form, and then Goku asks if he's done yet. Yeah, so Vegeta like gets punched into the ground, and he reverts back to base form, and then Goku's like, all right, is it my turn now? That was pretty funny. Yeah, so here is Vegeta sort of like struggling here against Goma now, visibly very exhausted. He's like panting. And then here is Goku and Piccolo talking about the third eye sort of being like the culprit in terms of not allowing Vegeta to actually make any progress in the fight here. And here we have sort of the end of Vegeta's standoff against Goma. Very, very exhausted. Let me pull just all these. I really want to take an actual like in-depth look at all these images because they're all so good. This is Vegeta. Like, look at each individual like bead of sweat. You could actually see that. Here's Goma grabbing Vegeta by the hair and just like pummeling him. And then yeah, here's like, you know, the what's supposed to be blood, I assume, but they, you know, censored it. And then here's Vegeta getting punched back to the ground, goes to base form, and that is the end of that fight. So, Majin Ku brings a tome to Aritsu, and she tells everybody that if they hit Goma really hard on the back of the head 3 times, the third eye might pop out and give them a chance. So that's, I guess, the strategy. It kind of reminds me of Cell Max, where it's like, oh, if you hit him on the top of the head, that's his weak point. Where it's like, okay, now Goma has a weak point, but it's not really Goma's weak point. It's just like the way the third eye works is if you, you know, like hit the person who's using it on the back of the head 3 times, it'll pop out or something. So Goku says he's going to take a crack at Goma, and while Goma's distracted, he wants Piccolo to take the chance to smack him on the back of the head 3 times to pop the third eye out. So Bulma knows it's time for Vegeta to retreat. So this is a funny part of this episode. Bulma starts yelling at Vegeta his time is up and to retreat and to allow Goku to take some time to fight. Otherwise, she won't take baths with him anymore. That's literally what she says. And then this is Vegeta's reaction. Yeah, so Bulma screams at him. This is Vegeta's reaction. And like he immediately like retreats and speeds back down. He's like, okay, it's your turn now. That was pretty funny. So Goku gets ready to fight. And this is the best part of the episode. At least this was my favorite part of the episode. This is easily the best animated sequence in Daima. And I don't even think it's close. Like, this looked so good. It looked like if you guys remember back to Superhero. Remember in the beginning of Superhero, they did like a recap of some parts of Dragon Ball Z. They did a recap. I think it was like Super Vegeta vs. Cell. I think they did a recap. It was some parts of OG Dragon Ball. This looked at least that good quality, if not better. It was insanely good. So before we scroll up, I'm gonna just describe what happens. If you guys have been a fan of Dragon Ball for a long time, if you've seen Z, obviously most of you guys have seen Z. If you've seen the Buu Saga, you'll get a kick out of this. Goku jumps in and is essentially, Goma's like, oh, it's you again. Like, why don't you all fight me at the same time, is basically what he says. Goku jumps in and tells Piccolo that they might only get one shot at this. Goku stretches out. He turns Super Saiyan 1. He goes, this is Super Saiyan. Then he goes Super Saiyan 2. He goes, this is Super Saiyan 2. And then finally, Goku starts powering up. You know, the entire place shines with light. Goma has to shield his eyes because of how bright it is. Goku goes Super Saiyan 3. He goes, this is Super Saiyan 3. Goma, obviously, has now seen Vegeta go Super Saiyan 3. He's seen Goku go Super Saiyan 3, both as kids and as adults. Goma laughs at him and says it's useless. Goku then says, wait, because I got one more. His eyes turn red. He starts powering up like crazy. The entire demon realm starts to shake. It shows you clips of the 3rd demon realm, the 2nd demon realm where Tamagami 3 and 2 are. Everything is shaking. Goku takes his gi, rips it off, and It's just, that's it. Adult Super Saiyan 4 is here. So let's go through these images because this looks absolutely ridiculous. Like the animations on this sequence, you can tell they really wanted to put a ton of effort into this. This is Super Saiyan Goku. Here's Super Saiyan 2 Goku. This is him powering up into Super Saiyan 3. Here's Super Saiyan 3. I mean, the images don't even really do this justice because it actually just looks so much better animated. You have to watch this for yourself. And then we have Super Saiyan 4 Adult Goku. Here he is. This is him ripping his gi off. And it's just this. Here he is. This is him. And I knew they were going to do this. They wanted to get this form in on the kid version and the adult version, because now for games like Dokkan, for games like Legends, for games like Sparking Zero, for games like Xenoverse 2, you can have two, and not just have one character of Super Saiyan 4 Goku. You can have the adult version of Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and you can have the kid version of Super Saiyan 4 Goku. That is very obviously why they did this. You can have Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. You can have Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta Mini. That's why they did it this way. Very, very, I think, predictable, but it is a very smart way to do this. So, I mean, look at this. He does the pose. This is the GT pose of him standing on the rock. That is it. They actually put it in here. And I mean, it just looks like, dude, just the art alone, like you can just imagine by looking at this image how good the animation is in this episode. And this is where the episode ends. So we don't actually see Super Saiyan 4 Goku fighting Goma, but we do see him transform into Super Saiyan 4, and Super Saiyan 4 Goku is ready to face off against essentially just giant roided out Third Eye Goma. And the next episode preview, this is the final episode. Okay, I'm not going to show the actual clips here. This is the final episode, episode 20, called Zenkai. It's called Zenkai. This is the final episode of Daima, and we do have clips here of very brief clips, Super Saiyan 4 Goku fighting against Goma. And the same thing with this preview as the last preview of episode 19. This has got to be like the first 10 seconds of the next episode. They're very obviously hiding something. I think we can all guess what it is. And I think it probably involves Vegeta, and I think it probably involves an item that they've been carrying around with them for the past 15 episodes. So I'm very excited to see episode 20, which will be the final episode of Dragon Ball Daima. This episode was absolutely crazy. I honestly, I don't even really see how it's possible for them to top the animation and art quality of this. Like, it really is almost like if you're going to top this episode in terms of art quality and animation, it's really almost going to be like a negligible difference, because I can't even really see how you could do that. Like, it was perfect. I thought the last episode was a 10 out of 10. This was an 11 out of 10. Now, this was also a 10 out of 10. Like, these last two episodes of Daima, you could tell they really were saving all their eggs for these last few episodes for the grand finale. And I had a really, really awesome time watching this episode. So once you've had an opportunity to watch this, let me know what you guys thought about it. But I really did enjoy this. And that last scene with Goku going through all the forms, obviously a throwback to when he did the same thing against Fat Boo in Dragon Ball Z. And then he just goes, "I've got one more." That was like, that's an all-time, that is an all-time Dragon Ball moment for me. I saw the first ever screening of Dragon Ball Super Superhero in Japan. Literally the world premiere. I saw the very first screening on midnight the day it dropped. And I went into the movie not knowing a single spoiler. And the Beast Gohan transformation really was probably like a top 3 Dragon Ball moment for me, because I had no idea it was coming. It was the first ever screening of the movie. It was just a special moment for me. But this really did feel similar in just the way I felt watching this. It really did feel special. It really did. So really, really enjoyed this episode, and I'm really excited for next week. It is a bit bittersweet because it is going to be the final episode, but they have been outdoing themselves with these past few episodes. Once you've gotten a chance to watch it, let me know what you think. I really enjoyed this, and I'm excited for next week. See you guys in the next one.